You'll never guess who I saw today." At her mother's comment, Carolyn James curbed an eye roll and plucked a biscuit from the basket on the table. She never won at this game, which had become a standard part of their weekly dinners. Judy James knew everyone in St. Louis, or so it seemed. "I haven't a clue, Mom." "Guess anyway." Fine, she'd play along as usual. It was the least she could do for the woman who'd been a rock during the months when grief had darkened her world, blinding her to everything but pain and loss. Without Mom, she would never have survived the tragedy that had changed her life forever and robbed the world of a gifted, caring man. Marlene Richards. Her mother's eyebrows shot up. "Goodness, I haven't heard any news about Marlene in ages. Whatever made you think of her?" "I reviewed an obit today for a Stephanie Richards for the next edition of the paper. No relation, but it made me think of Marlene. She was an excellent teacher. A bit unconventional, but all the kids loved her. I wonder what she's doing these days." "When she retired, she did a stint in the Peace Corps in Africa. She liked it so much she stayed. Last I heard, she was teaching primary school in a little village somewhere back in the bush." Carolyn shook her head and forked a bite of pot roast. "How on earth do you keep tabs on so many people?" "I make it a point to stay connected. And speaking of staying connected, do you want to guess again?" "Nope." Carolyn swirled the piece of meat in the gravy. "Then I'll tell you. David Sloan." Carolyn's hand froze halfway to her mouth. Her fiancé's brother was in town? Definitely not a name she would have guessed. And why would he be here anyway? Appetite vanishing, she set her fork down. "Are you certain it was him?" "Yes. I was at the post office, and as I was leaving, I must have dropped my scarf. The next thing I knew, this nice young man came up from behind me and held it out. He looked familiar, but it took me a few seconds to place him. He didn't remember me, of course. We only met once, and under such sad circumstances. When I introduced myself, the oddest expression came over his face." Judy tilted her head. "Very similar to the one on yours right now." Carolyn schooled her features into a neutral mask. "I imagine he was surprised to run into you." "It was more than that." Her mom continued to study her. Carolyn shifted in her seat.